welcome back to my huge channel, everybody. Today I want to talk with you about a topic that I think is extremely interesting, especially for the fashion world, for menswear, for everything in general. We're talking about African designers concerning menswear now, how the whole fashion game is changing right now, what is changing through African fashion with the global fashion world, and yeah, all these kind of things. And I think it's truly inspiring and interesting, and I want to share with you with some of the names. Maybe you also know them because they're quite popular now, but I think we need to dedicate a single video to some of these names because it's truly amazing what they created. So let's start. And as you know, I need to claim this. If you haven't subscribed yet and if you like my previous videos where I talk about fashion and stuff, do not forget to subscribe and show me your support. So yeah, this is just the little disclaimer that I need to integrate. So just follow now. Okay, bye. And first, as a little intro, I want to say that I think African designers and African fashion is finally getting to the place they deserve. I feel like this whole industry was revolutionized a little bit by the whole Me Too movement, which fought for diversity, inclusivity. So the first designer I want to start with, which might be very popular since he won the LVMH prize. So it is like one of the biggest achievements for a young designer to get the recognition of this prize, because it concludes with a huge prize. I don't know, I think it's like 200K or something. And you're able to work like with the best people of the industry, because as we know, like half of the industry is LVMH. So yeah, I want to start with Thebe Magugu. And I'm very sorry if I pronounce anything wrong. I know how bad you feel when people just like don't care about the pronunciation of your name. I've experienced that a lot, so it's very bad that I also do the same here. So I will do it like an old German granddad who will say Thebe Magugu. And well, this was a designer, or is. Many people ask me like, where do I have my sources from? You know, how do I know about like the newest shit concerning fashion? It's unfortunately just Instagram usually. I mean, I'm a huge fan of fashion books, etc. And I feel like, of course, in terms of emerging designers, you know, there is not a fashion book yet that talks about them. And in general, I think we can say that Europe and all other like first-class fashion countries and continents consist of a lot of cultural exploitation of Africa and also cultural appropriation. So this is something we have to bear in mind. So Thebe Magugu was born in South Africa and developed very early in his childhood already a interest in fashion. And I think he was like 8 years old when he started to design and create, you know, some sketches. I always tend to compare myself to these people when when I was 8, I was probably, you know, interested in just toys and stuff, you know, not getting into a creative process and generating something from it. So he got a lot of influence by his mom, who also did that in a professional way. So later on, when he went to college, he went to Johannesburg, which is like one of the biggest cities in South Africa, and started to study also fashion design. And well, apparently he was very successful. He created a design there. He created a little booklet of his college, which also had, you know, like fashion related topics. So he was a very engaged student and wasn't just designing for himself. So in 2016 already, he created his own namesake brand, Thebe Magugu, and was also able to show his first debut collection in 2020, which is pretty fast, I think. Well, he's very young. I think he's a 1903 born guy. And yeah, well, 4 years after the first release of his brand, he's already at the Paris Fashion Week. But that is not the most important fashion week, by the way. We will talk about another one that is emerging and extremely important nowadays. So he went to Paris, and then I think in 2019 or 20 he already won the LVMH prize. I do not want to talk too much about his background, but I think it's always interesting to see the brand in context. Now, coming to the design and why Thebe Magugu is like so extremely cool, interesting, important to know. And something we have to bear in mind when having a look at the collection is, despite the beauty and the patterns and everything, is what the meaning behind this collection actually is. And it's actually very deep, and it is a political statement in terms of where Thebe has gotten his inspiration from. And maybe you have even realized that while having a look at the collection, he used like a lot of uniform inspiration, a lot of military inspiration. If you look at the corsetry, if you look at the hats, if you look at the skirts, for example, it has a very uniform aesthetics, and that comes from his inspiration, which was a book which contains interviews that people had with spies, and especially women's spies who worked in some terms as double agents. And there's like one important persona who was a spy, who came as a spy to help for apartheid, but realized in the moment that she came to South Africa without even knowing what apartheid was, that she needed to protect the other side. So this is incredibly interesting, and it's actually just a sad story, but it's very important that we still have nowadays collections that still deal with these political issues that still exist. You know, like officially we do not have apartheid, but we still see the discrepancy and the asymmetry in the society in South Africa. And yeah, this is the inspiration he has gotten. We see that from the bags. They look like little letters, you know. These are all like little hints to spies, to secrets they held, which in general is just a cool inspiration if we look at it overall, you know, like having a uniform military inspiration this is something that a lot of brands use. But if you look exactly like where this certain inspiration comes from, it's incredibly important to acknowledge that this is actually a hint to the apartheid issues that were faced in Africa, and the woman's role, which also from another perspective is a positive view on the strong woman that works as a spy. You know, it has something very criminal about it, but it also has this very strong attitude that we see at the logo, for example. And the logo is one of the things that I love the most, and that is extremely important for Thebe. So what I think is extremely interesting is, and I just pulled my curtains because now the sun is going down and it's getting darker here, so a little lighting change here. I hope that's okay. Why I love logos, and it's not, you know, that I want the Fendi or Balmain logo or anything, it's just I think it's extremely important because you have to reduce your whole brand identity to a sign. And I think this shows and explains a lot about your brand, and it actually contains a lot of information if it's created correctly. And it can be like extremely cool, or it can be something very disappointing if it's just, you know, like the first letter or something. And when I first saw Thebe Magugu's logo, which is not a very typical logo because it contains two people holding hands with each other, I was like mesmerized by it because I didn't know what it meant, but I would just really felt something, because you feel like two people and two women obviously holding hands. And this is why I said, I mean, this is also something I see, for example, at the Lanvin logo. Another logo I think is extremely beautiful because it tells a huge story, is people holding hands. And the reason why Thebe Magugu chose two people was also because he wanted to create this image of the sisterhood, and also because of the matriarchy, because he was surrounded by so many strong women, and they were the reason why he came that far. And they also were the people he was inspired by, so he wanted to dedicate his logo to these people, which is extremely cool because I think it shows that he really appreciates the woman as his mother, or all the other women surrounding his life were so important to him. So this is something we see in the logo. Also, you know, I think he has another logo which consists of the letters, and that also has a little bit of a tribal, as it could be also a tribalistic logo or something. And this is also something that is like an homage to his African childhood, to his African identity. So extremely cool logo. So the first step is done. And what is extremely cool here is that you see Magugu's brilliance and workmanship, and how he's doing it very effortlessly and channeling the African culture, and also like, you know, the European composition. You see, you know, like very European influences, such as in his hats, but then you have this logo, and or you have the side slits at his skirts, which are all again very African inspired. You know, I love these kind of brands that share the symbiosis of different influences and combine them. This is also something we see, for example, at Korean brands, and this is obviously something we see like in every designer's brand that is influenced by different cultures. And what we see here as a result are just, you know, like sculptural pieces that play with different identities. We see, for example, corsetry, we see some slits, we see a fitted cashmere suit, for example, which looks extremely beautiful because it also has this shawl around it. I'm recording a video, I'm sorry. Yeah, bir 15-20 dakikam daha gir. Yani çekim. Or you see, for example, this very unique chevron patterns in his clothes, which also is, you know, like a nod to his African culture and African craftsmanship. What I have to say in general is African craftsmanship, and of course all terms and all forms of craftsmanship is amazing. Also, for example, the Baltics, you know, Eastern Europe, they are like amazing in this hand knitted things. The Brits know what they're doing with their tartans. The US, I don't know what you're doing there. Is there anything, something with cotton maybe? I don't know, but of course every nation and every culture has its thing, but African patterns, African craftsmanship is like so beautiful. I mean, it really is. And I mean, I love a lot of things. I'm like very strongly inspired by the Asians as well. You know, your craftsmanship and your love for perfectionism is blowing my mind, and I think it's so beautiful. But what I have to say is like one of a kind to Africa is when it comes to colors. And I think I have never seen more talented people knowing how to deal with color. And this is something, one of the hardest things to me. I think, you know, like craftsmanship in terms of knitting, sewing, I don't know what, this is something you can learn. But, you know, knowing what kind of colors to combine is extremely hard to me. African designers just know extremely well how to combine colors, and I think this also has its core in their cultural background, because there are a lot of tribe colors, patterns that are very special for certain tribes and have a lot of meaning to them. And if we look, for example, to Tanzania or Zanzibar, you know, when you see people, I mean, I'm like, okay, you know, I come from a Turkish village, and it's also a beautiful village, and people do not have a lot of money, and you know, it is a very forest-like place, so why do these people do not wear colorful things? And then I just look, you know, at Zanzibar, where people are also, you know, having a very hard-working daily life, and they just wear these turquoise, this pink, this green, which doesn't look even real to me, you know, when I see the pictures. And it's just like these people just know that colors, what an importance it has. And I think color is something extremely important just in general. So coming back to Thebe Magugu, and my little laudatio ended right now. And when I say Thebe Magugu knows very well who and what to choose, we also see that, for example, while choosing the people creating his images for his collections. It's like one of the most famous stylists, and my, I think, personal most famous stylist ever is Yves Camara. I think he always has a very good combination of photographer and himself, but it's like it's so amazing what he creates, and I have never seen anything more beautiful. And if I could choose a stylist like for the end of my life, it probably would be Yves Camara. And who is also South African. He also, for example, picked the South African photographer Kristen Lee Moolman, and this was also like one of my first impressions I had of him, like what beautiful pictures these are, and constellations. It's just a beautiful brand. I just would recommend you to scroll through the images, because they're very different from each other, and I cannot really say like this is a certain style for Thebe. I wouldn't say it's eclectic just because it contains different styles. So that's it for Thebe Magugu, because I wanted to make this video pretty long, but as I always used to do, I'm just talking endlessly about random things and not making a point. You can buy them now at Matches Fashion. By the way, Thebe Magugu, if somebody wants to buy me the hat, it's on sale right now. You should definitely check out the sale. I do not want to engage people to only buy and sale, but let's be honest, you know, like who has the money to buy everything on retail price? So we're also catching for the good deals. You cannot go wrong with the Kenneth Isay suit. You cannot go wrong with a Thebe Magugu suit or hat, definitely. As I said, if you find the hat somewhere, just keep me informed. It's getting very dark, and I think I wanted to talk about another brand, but it will not be seen anymore. Overall, I hope you like this video. I think I personally like it when people just tell me about, you know, new designers. As I said, these already are the very popular ones. And to me personally, the ones that I like the most, that I also have read the most about. And I'm sure that we hear a lot more about Nigerian fashion designers, obviously. But also, you know, like in general, African designers. And hopefully see them more in our department stores, right where they belong, and on our bodies, right also where they belong. And yeah. And I hope you like this video. Do not forget to subscribe or follow me on Instagram if you haven't done that yet, which you obviously have. So maybe some of you will have realized that the sound is a lot better. You know, I made some little changes. You know, the lighting has gotten worse, but my voice is clearer now, and I hope this gets appreciation. And if you know any other designers that you think are interesting that I might not maybe know about, tell me down below. I'd really like to know about new niche designers, especially if they're African or coming from another continent that we're like in the fashion world not too aware of. Please tell me down below. And if you like this video, this content, because I know it's not too much consumption oriented, but sometimes I think we just need to appreciate some people who deserve it.